Let me continue with the topics that I described before. First, let's look at these two images on the screen and tell me what is or think about what do you think that is common and things that are different in these two. For example, the one on the right, you can argue that it's actually analog, you have to actually rotate it. One on the left, there is more information that is available, which as it says what is the time, what is the temperature, and the interface for it to be, for you to increase and decrease is actually on the screen itself, it's not the dial one, right? There could be other differences that you could think about in these two things. Look at these two. What do you think are the differences? What do you think are the common? The common thing about this is both is actually storing liquid, probably water for your tea, hot water for your tea, and it also has tea leaves in it. So the way to think about it is that there is some things in common, right? There's a handle, there's a nozzle for water to come out, and in the one on the right bottom, you're also able to actually see how much of water is in the kettle. Whereas one on the left, you're not able to do it. Probably, depending on how it is made, the kettle probably can store the water for longer for it to be hot, whereas in the glass, it may be actually lesser time that it will store it for it to be hot, right? So these are some similarities and differences of these two for here in the kettle, and the earlier one is the thermostat. Let's look at a few more. I'll actually walk you through a few more interesting designs, interesting devices, interesting instruments that we use in our daily life, where we may have not thought about these commonalities and differences, right? So here is two things. The left top is actually the aeroplane cockpit, and the right bottom is a car. I don't know how many of you have tried or used the device on the left top, but it's actually extremely hard to use. There's so many buttons, there's so many things to be used there, whereas on the right hand side, there's only few. And I'm sure if you talk to a pilot, they may probably give you a sense that the left one is actually easy to use for them. But I think it takes a lot of training, it takes a lot of mental load, cognitive load for using the one on the left. Probably even for people, the right hand bottom is also gives you cognitive load, and it also needs some training. But the point I'm trying to get across is there's different parameters, different metrics you have to actually think about while designing these things, right? For example, the first one, you have to design what kind of people are actually using it. Is there any reason for having analog now, or is there any reason to have only the digital view? Here, again, it depends on what is the situation that people are using the device. Clearly, there's a lot of training, and there's also a lot of rules and regulations that you need to know on both of these, right? For example, in the aeroplane, just because it's the air, you can't take it and fly it anywhere you want. And for the right one on the car, you can't drive it on any lanes. You have to drive it on a particular side of the road. Given in a different country, it's probably also different in the different side of the road. So you have to keep all these rules, regulations that are outside the device also. In some cases, it is inside the device with a lot of these buttons and knobs that you have to use. Sometimes it's also outside the device that you're using, you have to actually keep in mind. Look at this one. I'm sure many of you may not have even seen the cameras like the one on the left top corner. And the one right bottom is actually the most commonly used kind of digital camera now. And now that we have the phones, which has actually these kind of cameras and very good quality pictures that are taken on phones, we probably don't use a lot of these kind of cameras also. Again, if you look at the similarities and differences, the common things is, you can zoom in a little bit, you can actually take pictures. In the one on the left, you have to put the film. In the one on the right, you have to actually put, it is just the digital pictures get stored in probably the memory of the phone or in the flash card, and you can actually take it and use it. Right, again, not a lot of training is needed, but I guess one should be more aware of the different buttons, because you would see when you actually give away your camera to somebody else, first they're actually figuring out which button is actually for taking the picture. How do you actually zoom in? zoom out, right? So these are the kinds of things that one looks at when designing or when probably using these kind of devices. For now, we will start looking at how do you get into the design of these things as we progress in the course. But for now, I wanted you to think about the devices that you're using at home in day-to-day life, to think about how design is playing a big role. Design decisions have played a big role in designing these equipments, instruments that you use. Now let's look at other instruments and services that you use actually very often these days at your workplace or at your home. So here are two websites that I have, but I'm going to actually walk you through the different services that I think is actually interesting and that I assume you probably are using it right now too. So here is one service that I'm sure some of you are using it, but I'm going to actually show you many of the services that are available so you could actually see how these design patterns have been used in these kind of services. So the first one is New York Times that I'm showing, where you can clearly see there is topics here on the horizontal bar, which is world, US, politics, NY, business, opinion, tech, science, health, sports. So they basically have all the different categories that they think that are important there. And then there is this date, time, language, subscribe now, and there's a huge head of Rolex in between, and then the topics. Again, in the topics, you can clearly see that they have different size of fonts that they've used, different size of images that they've used in terms of getting attention of their readers. Right? That's one type of, and then they have these kind of, so the more recently these kind of things have been added, which is like the total number of comments that they do, that the articles have, and connecting all these comments and showing it to the user. Right? Now let's look at another service which is popular in India, which is Times of India, the newspaper. Right? So this website also is very similar to New York Times in many ways, and is very different from New York Times also. So in this case, you will see the logo of Times of India is prominently placed on the top, and the different categories of the news are placed next to that. The categories also are very similar to what was there in New York Times: city, India, world, business. And then the most popular news article that the editors think has been kept with an image, top stories, latest news, entertainment, on the right hand side, other news that they think is interesting. Right? So if you look at the Times of India has used very similar fonts, not a lot of change in the font size or in the color. Whereas in New York Times, you could clearly see the font size is very different, and the fonts are also very different in different parts of the web page. Again, my intent here is not to actually keep this very complete. My intent here is to get you to think about these services from a design point of view. Right? You may be also using other applications very frequently, like for example Google Maps, Uber, Ola, and Zomato and Instagram. These kind of services are also very popular, so I would recommend, what I'm showing you here is from the desktop. I would highly recommend you to look at these popular services that you're using from a design point of view. And we can have, please post any interesting observations, questions that you have from these services. We'll be happy to actually have a discussion around it in the mailing list. So now that we have seen the New York Times and the Times of India, let me take you to a few other types of services. One is Amazon, which is also extremely popular for buying and selling things. So look at the website that Amazon has. The most prominent thing that they have in the website is a search bar. What they want you to do is they want you to come to the website and get to what you're looking for very quickly. And again, there is a lot of design patterns that are being used in the services. I'm not going to get into the design patterns right now, but later in the course, we'll actually look at the concept of design patterns, which is that you can see some patterns that you can yourself think about between the New York Times and the Times of India also, right? Prominent articles being given more space, probably bold letters with an image and all that. Now, in the Amazon's case, they have presented all the information that they want to present through images about the products, New Year Eve, health and wellness, sports, home, and then depending on the recommendations, depending on the searches that I've done and products that I've looked at, they are providing me recommendations. And you can see the categories that they have on the top are different departments, which is different parts of their website, books and audible, movie, musics and games. Then they talk about today, then they have a link to today's deals, gift cards, registry, and then on the right hand side they have their shop Valentine Day deals, cart, try prime, order, and all of this. Right? So this is primarily designed around selling products, selling books, selling articles. So therefore they have presented all the information in terms of images. So now let's look at the one that is popular within India, which is Flipkart. So in terms of Flipkart, if you see, what they are doing is they have this crawl with the popular deals that they have or the products that they have there. And then they have, again, similar tools. That's why I meant about a design pattern. Similar to Flipkart, they also have a search bar, which is prominently on top, and sell on Flipkart, advertise, gift card is on the top right. And then the different categories of products is presented here. And then there is this, again, a design pattern, which is go quickly to, or a shortcut, so to say, is mobiles, men's footwear, men's t-shirt, and categories like that. So they have this deals of the day that's going to be for the next 47 minutes, and products are presented with the images and then the cost, and again, other products, super top selling mobile, super savers, discounts for you, and information like that. So what I'm trying to show you here, this is very similar to Amazon, but there is also differences between Amazon and Flipkart, right? So these are the two services that we use for buying and selling products, books, and other things that we use. Now let's get into the social networking space, right? The social networking space is also interesting because the way that we end users use these systems are very different. At least the goals of these systems are very different compared to the ones that we have seen until now, which is the New York Times, the Times of India, Amazon, and Flipkart. So here, I think the goal for Facebook is to get you to use their website as much as possible by actually sharing what you are doing, right? So therefore, the prominent information that they present is what's on your mind. Share what you're actually doing right now, right? Or what you may have done or what you want to do. And the website is broken down into three parts, which is on the left hand side, they're presenting newsfeed, messenger, shortcuts. You can clearly see the shortcut from Flipkart also here, which is also a design pattern. Explore, and on the right hand side they have stories, some trending topics, and friend requests. So they basically have this design of three parts in the website: left, middle, and the right. The middle one that they have used it for just newsfeed, which is what is happening in my friend circle. The right one primarily for trending, providing me recommendations. The left one is mostly static, which is from the shortcuts and services, parts of this Facebook services that I've actually used. Right, and if you see the font in Facebook is very, very consistent, which is black color, very small font, and the name presented in blue. The links are basically presented in blue, and there's not a lot of font difference in Facebook's homepage. They have a lot of these icons that they have used for different shortcuts and different pages that are created, and those icons are actually presented here. So that's Facebook. So now let's go look at another popular service that most of you must be using, which is YouTube. YouTube is a video sharing website, and the goal here for the website is to share as much as videos as possible and view as much as videos as possible, right? So in that case, I think, or reach to the videos as quickly as possible. So therefore, there is also a search bar here, and there's also a search bar in Facebook also for you to get to different pages, different profiles. All right. And the way that the content is organized in YouTube is home, trending, subscriptions, library, YouTube movies, and everything. And these are all recommendations that thumbnails are presented for these videos. They're all mostly driven by the recommendations that are presented, recommendations that are available depending on the searches and depending on the videos that I've seen before. Right? So that's YouTube. Again, you could clearly find some similarities and differences between Facebook and YouTube also, but they're slightly different services fundamentally. Now let's look at a service that is very close to or similar to a Facebook design, which is Twitter. So Twitter has also broken the page into three halves, which is on the left they have Delhi trends, which is trending topics. On the right they have whom to follow. On the middle that they have which is more like the news feed in Facebook, what is happening in my network, right? And if you clearly see the differences between them, Facebook and Twitter, you can say that in Twitter the trends are on the left hand side, in Facebook the trends are on the right hand side, and the who to follow here is most likely the most similar to the friend request and the recommendation that Facebook is making. And here on the left and top corner they have my profile details, right? So what I'm giving you again is a sense of these kind of services from a design point of view, because when you go to these websites, meaning I think this is a question that I'll ask all of you to try and think about or even answer, is when you go to these services, very rarely all of us actually look at these services from a design point of view. We're not going to Twitter to see, okay, so what kind of font are they using? What kind of colors are they using? Why are they keeping the news feed or timeline in the middle? Why is it not on the right hand side? Why is it not on the left hand side? Those are not the questions that we're asking most of the times. When you want to book a cab to go from point A to point B, you're primarily looking at only where the cab is, how much time it's going to take, and can I get it as quickly as possible. Right? You're not looking at the design decisions that you're not thinking about design decisions that Uber or Ola has made while making these web services. Here is the next one. The next one I'm going to leave it for you to comment. I'm going to wait and see what kind of comments that you make, and I will also let you to talk about some of the services that you are using more frequently. So here is IRCTC website, Indian Railways website. I would like you to actually look at this website and make comments about their design patterns or design decisions that you think they may have made. Why do they have the way that they design website that they have? Why did they design it the way it is currently? Right? Think through it and make some observations about the design. How usable is it, right? So the goal of this course is also primarily, as you know, it's looking at useful and usability, right? The services that we are going to analyze, the services that we're going to look at. I'm sure many of you may have used, many of you would have used Yahoo at some point in time. Yahoo used to be very popular, and Yahoo primarily presents the information which are news articles. And they are, so if you look at this classification of the news, you can see mail, cricket, news, finance, lifestyle, movies, celebrity. They probably have used very different words compared to New York Times and Times of India, but still the classification is there. And like the Facebooks and Twitters, they have a thing called as trending now, and they have weather, and they have thumbnails of different news articles that they want to showcase to the user. Again, I'm sure they're doing so. Another thing that we will not be looking at in this course is this whole idea of how these services are actually making these decisions, right? So they must be crunching a lot of data at the back to see what kind of user behavior, what kind of cohorts of users are actually looking at what kind of content, and designing their information presentation accordingly, and design decisions also. I'm sure Facebook is making a design decision on what to present where after looking at what users do. That's more like the data analytics, data analysis that one could do at the back end and make decisions on. Our primary focus will be on the design, and particularly my focus will be on usability and usefulness of the services that we are looking at. So what I recommend now, so these are some, as I said earlier, these are only some indicative services that I think will trigger your thought process on looking at a design when you're looking at these services. But I'm sure there are many services that you use where you can actually think about, look at these services and just go through the process of how they must have made a decision, and why are they making the search bar on top? Why do you think the trending is on the right? Why can't the trending be at the bottom? Again, think about it. Some of the things is design as users. For us, it is so trivial now, right? So because everybody, for example, one thing I feel now is that the concept of notification, right? The concept of notification where you get a notification for every tweet where you're mentioned, or your tweets are getting retweeted, or your Instagram post is getting a like, picture is getting a like, right? So these notifications are so natural now. But think about the design decisions that somebody would have made at some point in time. Because today, if you see any app without notifications, the apps don't seem to be getting attention, right? Because I'm sure many of you who are watching this lecture, in the morning when you get up, you are going to log into these services, open up your phone, and looking for notifications, right? Notifications are one thing that end users have started looking for, from the posts, from the tagging, from the pictures, from the videos, right? Even now you can clearly see on my screen there is notifications for one notification which is in my Twitter, and there is some 2 notifications which is on my YouTube, right? So these notifications generally are, the point I'm trying to get across is that in terms of design, it may be very trivial now. Oh, let's just put a notification for a project that you're doing on. But I think through the process of why notifications has become actually more important, right? A quick answer to that is generally information used to be in the pull mode, which is you have to go look for the information and get it. Whereas in notifications, it's kind of pushed mode, right? Push mode, that is, information is getting pushed to you, given a notification to you saying, oh, you know what, there's a like in your tweet, there's a retweet in your tweet. So if you're interested, go take a look at it. Right, so that's the set of services that I wanted to show you to get a sense of, to give you a sense of how these services were designed. Now let's get back to the slides where I will show you why did we look at these kind of services, these kind of design, these kind of products, these kind of services. So here are some reasons why you want to actually keep in mind design. So everything, right? Everything that we talked about right now has some kind of criteria, and I want you to think about these criteria, because when you're designing, when you're working on these criteria, make a lot of difference in the design decisions that you're going to make. These criteria actually are the deciding factors in which the final outcome that you will produce. Attractive, cost-effective to manufacture, it is durable, it is watertight, can hold hot water effectively, separate tea leaves from the rest, and these could be the design criteria that you may end up actually using while making your design decisions. But is it useful and usable? I'm going to repeat this: usefulness and usability again and again in this course. Here is another one. So we looked at the cockpit and the car before. So there is training required, there's conventions, there's laws and regulations, there's competing products, and also human abilities and limitations. I'm sure there are a set of people who could easily sit on the cockpit and maneuver all the knobs that are provided there, or the controls that are provided there. But I'm sure there are many people who cannot even take the cars maneuvering and the parts of the cars, right? So therefore, there is this whole cognitive load, training, conventions, laws and regulations, and I'm sure there is competing products which will also make influence on the decisions that you will make, right? Understanding these influential factors is part of this course also. So let me now get into what an HCI is, right? HCI generally is going to be a combination of different areas, particularly human-computer interaction, human being the end user who's using, which is you and me, computer being the hardware and the software, the microwaves, the mobile phones, the cars, the aeroplanes, the Ubers and the Ola's apps that we use today. And the interaction, the user tells the computer what they want, and the computer communicates the results, right? I'm saying that I want to go from point A to point B on Ola, and it is providing me first it is going to look for the cabs that are available, and then it's going to provide me what cab is going to come and pick me. So all that is visually presented to you in an interface, which makes these kind of apps more popular. So more theoretically, if you look at it, so the HCI approach to UI design, there is technology, there is humans, and then there is tasks. Design generally is going to be the one that is going to bring these three things together. Technology being the app of the Uber, tasks being the booking a cab from point A to point B, and humans being the me as the user making the choice of going from point A to point B. And the design is actually bringing all of these things together to present this interface for the user to make a decision. And I think the bigger context of where this decision is being made, how the decision is being made, is also very, very important, right? For me to book a cab using Ola versus for me to book a cab to go from point A to point B, which is actually far away, where I can't get an Uber or Ola now, which is multi-city, multi-state cars. Is the context that I want, and Ubers and Olas are also primarily designed when I want it right now, right? So there are features there which could say I can book it 3 days from now, but the context in which the decision is being made is also important to take. For example, me making a design decision for urban users versus me making a decision of rural users, me making a decision for senior citizens versus teenagers, right? So these kind of design decisions, these kind of context becomes very, very important. And HCI, of course, draws content or the topics from computer science, psychology, and design. A few other interesting questions or topics that I'll throw given that this is the first week of class, I wanted to get the perspective of the design and the perspective of the course that we'll be continuing to look at. I'm sure many of you may operate the microwave regularly or will operate the microwave regularly. Here is my question. How easy it is difficult to go operate a microwave in your friend's place or in a relative's place? It's not that trivial, right? It's not that trivial because the conventions are very different in different microwaves, and the buttons are placed differently. The timing that is given is very different, and you will actually find it harder to use the microwave in different places. It's not just the microwave, right? There are many, many examples that I could actually go on with this. For example, I'm sure for the students at least, or even for others who were used to seeing people giving lectures or talks using a projector, you will again and again find people struggling to get the projector working. Right? TV remote is another interesting example that you will find. I'm sure most of you have TV at home. You can look at your TV remote, go look at a TV remote in your neighbor who has a different TV and a different brand. You will find that the TV remotes are very different. The conventions are very different. Even though the conventions may be same, which is volume, channel, power off, mute and all that, but the way the position where it is kept, and even sometimes the shape of the buttons are also very different. So here is a quote about microwave oven in 1986. Door handles. So door handles is another interesting design that you can look at. So with that, I'll stop the content for week 1. If you have any questions or there is clarifications on the content that we covered or insights that you're getting while looking at these kind of solutions around you, please feel free to post it on the mailing list. We'll be happy to actually look at them, answer them, participate in a discussion. And I'll remind you again, this is a course where you also have to do some things, not just listening to the lectures, but I'm going to get you to go look at some of these devices that you use otherwise. Come back to the mailing list, come back to probably even the homeworks, and do as part of the course, critiquing these kind of designs or thinking through this design and telling us what you think about it.